Imkem was in her room, seated with legs folded on her bed, doing and minding the business that paid her, which is editing wedding photos, and is sipping her hot cup of coffee when her mother barged in again, like an angry police officer chasing a thief. No knock, no greeting, just drama. Imkem, you are not getting younger. You are not getting younger, Mama Imkem said. Imkem looked up slowly, the way someone would after hearing the same line for the 100th time. Good morning, Mommy, she said, almost on reflex. Her mother hissed, completely ignoring the greeting. Do you know your mates are now mothers of twins? Some even have grandchildren. Mama Binye just called to tell me that Binye gave birth to twins last night, and that is her third pregnancy. Mama Binye is Imkem's aunt, and Binye, her younger cousin. Mommy, I am only 34. I'm not 50 yet to make you start worrying and sounding like I've reached menopause. Please calm down, Imkem responded, trying to stay calm. 34? And still sleeping in your bed alone like an abandoned orphan? So you are waiting to get to 49, before you have children? A year before the time you think it will be menopause. Do you want me to die before you get married and give me grandchildren? Mama Imkem said, her voice growing louder. Ah, the emotional drum had landed again, Imkem said within her. Before Imkem could form a reply, her mother dropped herself heavily at the edge of the bed, clutched her chest as if something was chewing her heart from inside, and dropped the one line that made Imkem's hot coffee suddenly become cold. Imkem, I have cancer, Mama Imkem said. Cancer? Imkem blinked. How? Since when? What kind of cancer? What did the doctor say? She poured the questions one after the other. Leave me alone, please. Does it matter what kind of cancer? What matters is that I may be dying soon, Mama Imkem said, throwing in some dramatic flair, as if she needed to convince both of them. My body is weak. The doctor said, if I don't carry my grandchild soon, I may not see next year. And if I die without carrying my grandchildren, my spirit will haunt you, she told Imkem. Then she stood up, opened Imkem's wardrobe, picked the handbag she had told Imkem to borrow her the previous evening because she has another Owambe party to attend, and walked out of Imkem's bedroom. That was when Imkem knew that her mother wasn't sick. She was just being Mama Imkem, and like every typical Nigerian mother who exaggerates things and would resort to emotional blackmail to get what they want from their children. Imkem laughed it off. But deep down, she was bothered. She was tired. Not of being alone, but of pretending that it didn't bother her sometimes, and that she would also love to have a family. Not a man to complete her because she was already whole, but maybe someone to build with, laugh with, grow old with. Or at the very least, a child of her own to love and nurture. That night, after her mother left for Umuahia, Imkem stood in her kitchen holding a spoon and staring at nothing. And then the thought came, what if she just had a child, husband or no husband? And that was how it started. Just like that, Imkem began Googling things. Things like sperm donor clinics in Lagos, single women who had children alone. Can motherhood be enough? Imkem Grace Eze was born and raised in Umuahia, but Lagos had washed her clean like morning fresh dishwasher. She was the only daughter of her parents, squeezed in the middle of two elder brothers who still treated her like she was 12. Growing up, Imkem was a tomboy. While other girls were learning how to cook and make pap without lumps, so their future husbands would boast of marrying a full wife material, Imkem was rather busy climbing trees and leaping over gutters. Her mother would often sigh and say, you better learn how to bend small so a man can see you. But Nekem never understood. Bend how? She would wonder, was she a cable wire? In school, she was the girl with a camera glued to her hands, a gift her late father had gifted her on her 10th birthday after he saw her passion for photography. While other girls were rubbing powder and giggling with seniors' boys, Imkem was busy snapping pictures of flies and flowers as though they were paying her monthly salary. That was how photography found her and held her. And if there was one thing that constantly reminded Imkem of her single status, it was attending weddings every weekend for photography jobs and hearing "you may kiss the bride" repeatedly when she didn't even have anyone to text "good morning." Still, she was content. She had her small, comfortable apartment in Lagos, her loyal clients, and her quiet peace. Life was steady and quiet until her mother decided that Imkem's peace was causing her discomfort and began sending her voice notes every now and then. One evening, she sent one that began with coughs that sounded like a Nollywood evil stepmother that had confessed and was about to die, and ended it again with, "If I die without seeing your child, my spirit will not rest up." So, one morning, Imkem found herself sitting inside a fertility clinic, pen in hand, filling out forms that made her feel like she was registering for JAMB all over again. "So you want to go through insemination?" Dr. Ima asked, sitting across Imkem. Imkem nodded quickly. "Yes, I'm ready," she said with a firmness she didn't entirely feel. Dr. Emma smiled, the kind of smile that said she had heard that sentence too many times. "We have donor profiles. You can select based on the qualities you like: height, complexion, level of education, and other things," she explained. Imkem held her breath and asked, "Does the donor need to know me?" "No, it is anonymous," Dr. Ima replied. "Perfect," Imkem said, but it wasn't loud just within her. She chose a donor on instinct. Tall, smart, healthy, loved music and jollof rice. That was enough. She didn't want to know his name, didn't want to see his face, or even guess what he smelled like. All she wanted was the seed, like a focused farmer in planting season. After 4 months of walking in and out of the clinic, something she hadn't imagined she would be doing a few months earlier, the procedure came and went with surprising speed. There was no drama, no shouting, no awkwardness, just science, silence, and a quiet flicker of hope. A month later, Imkem was pregnant. The day she broke the news to her mother, Mama Imkem rolled on the floor, screaming with joy. "Hey, my enemies have failed! Imkem is carrying a baby! Chineke na! Thanks, sir!" Imkem didn't have the emotional energy to explain that no husband was involved, so she lied to her mother that a fiancé, the father of her baby, was in the UK and not around for now. "When I'm ready, we'll deal with the truth later," she said to herself. Within days, Mama Imkem was telling everyone in the family that Imkem's husband was in London, and even added Jara to make the story sweet, that he was sending her money in pounds. Well, Imkem didn't care. She just felt relieved that her mother and her amiibo aunties would not be disturbing her again for a while. She even told herself, "I may just relocate to Canada to have my peace and my child." She planned to carry on with her life quietly, mind her growing belly, snap and edit photos in peace. But life, as usual, had other plans, and peace was not on the guest list. In the 4th month of her pregnancy, Imkem met Biodun, a successful architect, same age as her. It was at a wedding. Her stomach was beginning to protrude a little by this time, so she wore a big t-shirt so people wouldn't notice easily. She was behind her camera, taking shots of the couple and everyone else. But every once in a while, she kept picking plates of small chops from the trays of the servers as they passed. She also had a pack of mini chin chin in her pocket and would throw some in her mouth every now and then. Everybody's attention was on the couple and the wedding party, so nobody paid her any attention. Nobody noticed. But one of the groomsmen, Biodun, did. He had been watching her, wondering why she was munching something every now and then. But also, he admired how she was doing her work skillfully. And of course, he was also captivated by her. He found her attractive. So he walked up to her and asked, "Are you pregnant?" His question caught Imkem off guard, but she replied, "Yes now, can't you see? And you are the father." Nonsense. Imagine. A mature man cannot mind his business. Biodun burst out laughing. There was something about him. Maybe the way he laughed, or how his eyes crinkled at the sides, or the fact that he didn't act like most men she had met. He wasn't trying to flirt. He was just normal. That was how their friendship started. Biodun requested for her number later when the wedding was coming to an end, and she gave it without thinking twice. From that day, Biodun would randomly check up on Imkem, send her funny memes on WhatsApp, and call to ask if she was eating well. Imkem told herself it was nothing, just someone being kind to a pregnant woman. But one night, when the baby kicked for the first time and she called him before calling anyone else, she knew it wasn't just friendship. And she panicked. Because how could she be falling for a man while being pregnant? She asked herself. She tried to push Biodun away, ignored his texts, told him she needed space. But the guy had stubbornness in his blood. He showed up at her studio one evening with Boli and groundnut, sat on her sofa and said, "I'm not afraid of your big belly, Imkem. If you think you threaten me with that and push me away, in fact, I think it makes you even glow." "Ah, wahala," Imkem said. That night, Imkem laughed so hard she almost peed on herself. They talked for hours. He told her about his family, his childhood, how he once got stuck inside a drum while trying to rescue a goat. Imkem laughed hard again. Imkem told him about her mother's fake cancer drama, and they both laughed till their cheeks hurt. And then she became emotionally vulnerable and told him about the truth of her pregnancy, that there was no man, no fiancé, and her decision to be a single mother. Biodun listened without judgment. Romance started creeping in slowly, the kind that doesn't rush, the kind that shows up in small moments, like when he tied her shoelace because she couldn't bend, and when he held her hair back and rubbed her back while she vomited in the toilet. She didn't want to fall for him. She tried not to, but her heart didn't get the memo. But then, one day, Imkem discovered something shocking. She was now 8 months pregnant at this time, when Biodun came to visit her one day at her studio with a strange look on his face. "I need to tell you something," he said. He brought out a photocopy of a file. It was from the clinic. "What is this?" Imkem asked, not understanding what Biodun was going to show to her at first. Biodun looked her in the eye and said, "Imkem, I'm the donor." Imkem froze. For full 1 minute, it felt like her brain had packed up and left town. "You are the what?" she asked. Biodun repeated it slowly. "I'm the sperm donor. The clinic matched you to my profile. It was anonymous, but I found out a few weeks ago. I wanted to tell you, but I didn't know how." Imkem sat down, looked at Biodun, looked at the file, looked at her belly. Then she started laughing. "What did you just say?" she asked again. Biodun exhaled. "When I donated at that clinic, it was just one of those things. It was for fun. Myself and my friends were just randomly watching some movie about men donating their sperm. We talked and joked about it, and then Yemi, one of my friends, dared me to do it. He said in a joke that it was better than wasting it in the shower. So I signed up and forgot about it. It was anonymous. I didn't think much of it. But a few weeks ago, I saw you walking into Dr. Ima's clinic. It didn't register at first, but then I remembered you said you got pregnant through a donor. So I got curious. Yemi's sister works at the clinic. I begged her to help me check your file. She refused at first, but I begged and begged a lot. Promised her I would keep it a secret and give her something. So she did. The clinic file and record says and confirms that I am the donor." Biodun explained. Imkem stood up, Saturday back, stood up again. Her legs were walking, but her thoughts went. "You mean you knew I was carrying your baby this whole time and you didn't say anything?" "I only found out 3 weeks ago. I wanted to tell you. God knows I wanted to. But how do you say that to someone? How do you walk into someone's life and say, "Surprise, I'm the biological father of your child," especially when she didn't ask for a man? He asked. I was scared. Scared it would ruin everything. Scared you would push me out. Scared you would think I came close to you for the wrong reason, he said. Imkem said nothing and walked out to the corridor. Biodun followed her. Imkem, if you tell me to walk away now, I will. I'll never disturb your peace. I'll never come near you or the baby. I just couldn't live with myself without telling you the truth. That is why I did. Imkem stayed silent for a while, then said, "Yes, please, Biodun. Give me space. I don't think I want to see you anymore. At least not during this period. I'll have a rethink after I have the baby." And he did. The days that followed Biodun's confession didn't feel silent, but they were heavy. However, Imkem didn't block him. She simply asked him to stay far from her, not because she hated him, not even because she was angry. She was just confused and the whole thing was overwhelming. She needed space to understand what it all meant. She needed to sit with the weight of it. That the man she had been slowly letting into her life was already part of it, deeper than she could have imagined. Well, many days passed. Biodun didn't force anything, but he sent food and deliveries to her. He sent text messages to check in, still dropped memes on her WhatsApp that made her laugh till tears flowed from her eyes. Not once did he mention the donor thing again. Not once did he act like he had rights. Then one night, Imkem had a scare. It was just cramps, nothing serious, but she didn't know, so fear gripped her. And without thinking twice, she dialed Biodun's number. He picked on the second ring. He didn't ask unnecessary questions or remind her that she had pushed him away. He simply said, "Give me 20 minutes, I'll be there soon." He came and drove her to the hospital immediately. Dr. Emma let them know it was nothing serious, just a scare. But she also asked Imkem to remain in the hospital that night, just to help her relax. And Biodun stayed with her. The next morning he left before she woke, but snuck a note under her pillow that says, "Tell my baby to stop kicking anyhow. I'm not ready to come and fight anyone inside womb." It was in that moment that Imkem began to understand something. That love is not always loud. That it isn't always poetic. Sometimes it is quiet, steady, almost shy, but present. And when their daughter finally arrived weeks later, covered in tiny wrinkles and loud cries, it was Biodun who held her first, eyes full of tears. He didn't hide his feelings. There was a joy in him that no one, not even Imkem, had expected to see. He whispered things she couldn't hear, but she didn't need to. She saw it in his face, in the way he held the child like a miracle he never deserved, but was willing to spend his whole life protecting. A year later, after opening up to Mama Imkem about the truth, Biodun and Imkem stood in front of close friends and family at a small wedding filled with laughter, music, dancing, aunties, and jollof rice that nearly caused a fight. Imkem didn't cry while saying her vows. She just held Biodun's hand, looked him in the eye and said, "You were already my family long before today." And in his eyes, she saw the truth. They didn't find love the usual way. They did not follow the script. They did not tick all the boxes. But somehow, they ended up with something better. What a way to find love. I hope you enjoyed this story. Let me know in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, and hit on the subscribe button if you haven't done so yet. I'll see you in my next story. Bye.